Howdy, everybody. Welcome into Pack-A-Day Live. Of course, I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. I have to let you guys know up front, I am battling a significant injury today. I have the worst freaking canker sore right on the bottom of my tongue, and it is brutal. So if you see me swallow a little bit or whatever, my apologies in advance. It is absolutely terrible. One of the worst canker sores I've ever had. So I am playing. This is obviously I'm extremely tough and physical, and I'll be able to handle this. But yes, just as a heads up, I am battling a very significant injury today. I will get to obviously super chats. Actually, we'll go to that right away with Ian. Super chats will go to the top of the line, and then we will get to some member chats, and we'll get to as many chats as we can over the course of the next hour or so, however long I can bravely, battle this canker sore while we're talking here today. Andy, do you think Preston's comments about not being a fit for the defense also explain why Rashawn Gary is struggling? That was surprising to hear. I think there's a piece of it with all those guys on the line. I think at the end of the day, you have to find a way to win no matter what. I don't care if you're lined up, because we see guys move around, right? They'll move these guys into defensive tackle, defensive end, standing up, hand in the dirt. They'll move those guys around. I think at the end of the day, whether you're Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, edge rusher, defensive tackle, whether you're standing up, kicking inside, hand in the dirt, whatever it might be, go out and beat the guy in front of you. That's ultimately at the end of the day, your job. And I think there is definitely aspects of it that all these guys are struggling with to some extent, just making that transition. I think we've seen it with Kenny Clark. I think we saw it definitely with Preston Smith to the point where he wanted out, didn't feel like he fit the scheme anymore, didn't feel like he was utilized to the best of his ability. I think we see it a little bit with Rashawn Gary. I think all those guys to some extent are struggling with it. Do I think it's the ultimate reason why we're not seeing productivity from them or production from them? No, I don't. But I think it's playing a part. Hopefully, and Goody mentioned this in his press conference as well, hopefully as the season goes along, that'll be something that they get more and more comfortable with, that we'll see a better second half of the year. But all those guys need to be better, whether it's Rashawn Gary, whether it is LVN, whether it's Kenny Clark, all of them. They all need to be better to some level, and hopefully that can come sooner rather than later. But I think it's playing a factor. I don't think it's the factor. And at the end of the day, you got to beat the guy in front of you, whether your hands in the dirt, outside, inside, doesn't matter. Go beat the guy in front of you. All right. Troy, you can only keep 3 players on offense and 3 players on defense to be on the Packers team for the next 5 years. Who are you picking and why? Obviously, Jordan Love at QB. I'll take Zach Tom. He'll be good for a good 5 years yet. And I'll probably I'll take Tucker Kraft. I think he's going to be a very unique player at tight end. So Tom, Kraft, and Love on offense. On defense, let's see. I would probably say 5 years. Do I want 5 years of Xavier McKinney? Is that going to pay off enough? Probably. I think I'll take Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, and Edgerrin Cooper would be my 3 on defense. Let me start with those 3. So even if McKinney's at year 5 of it isn't quite as good, I think he'll be really good for the next 3 or 4 years at least. So I'll take that. What happened between Za'Darius and the Packers the last year here? We don't know the full extent of it. He was not happy that he was not a captain. We know that much. He got his own little captain's chain. And then I think there was some, I don't know if it was a contract thing. There were some thoughts that maybe it was a contract thing when he sat out to begin with. And then after that, you, excuse me, you had the actual injury, I think. So he comes out and plays the first game, 15 snaps. Then he's out, doesn't play again until the final game. And I just think there was it just seemed like they were not communicating effectively. It didn't seem like they were on the same page. And it felt like it was very much trending towards, all right, this is not going to work out. And it didn't. They released them and then they moved on and whatever. So we don't know the full story, but it just seemed like from the very onset of that season, they were not on the same page. Hindsight 2020, but that Kenny Clark extension in the offseason is looking brutal, and he's not even on the contract yet. I don't know if you guys remember, this is one of the things I said with going into this Jeff Hafley defense. I was like, if it's me, I'm making Kenny play out this year and seeing how he plays in this defense. Now, you're taking a risk there because if Kenny would have just balled out this year, right? then you're going to pay him more next year than you would have in the extension this past offseason. You get a little bit of a pay or like a discount there because you're signing it early. But I would have made him play out this season to see it. And I get a contract year out of Kenny then where he's probably doing everything in his power to go out and play at a high level, right? So that was one of the things all offseason. I was like, let him play it out. Let him do the one more year. And then if you get to the end of this year and you need to pay him a little bit more, so be it. But I want to see it. I want to see him in this defense. It has not been good enough so far. And I think they probably do have some level of regret at this point that they gave him that contract. And it's not aged well up until this point. If that was our introduction to potentially having Elgton Jenkins at center next year, I think they can just keep it. I'm assuming you mean that you think it didn't work, right? Because of the bad snaps. Elton's played center before, and that has not been an issue for him. I'm not sure if it was an issue because of the weather, which it maybe seemed like. I don't think that's the end game completely. I don't think you can just say it's done, it's over with. It would be something that I'd keep a very close eye on if they wanted to do that. Now, they also have Jacob Monk. They have Zach Tom. They have Sean Ryan. All these guys can potentially play center, so they can do that over the course of the offseason and figure out who fits where. Or they could just bring back Josh Myers, too. That could be in the realm of possibility. I think some people had a little bit of a better appreciation for Josh after that, of just like, hey, sometimes I take the simple stuff for granted, which is fair. But that was I think 3 or 4 of those snaps that were, either on the ground or close to it. Not a great performance from a snap standpoint for Elgton Jenkins in that game. All right. Sorry, this canker sore is crazy. Since there's 4 straight night games through December and you clearly won't have time to do things like shave, can you please do a no shave extravaganza? First came mustache Andy. Now I need Santa beard Andy. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to get to that level, Matt A. I appreciate the thought, but we'll shave soon. We'll get this going a little bit more, and then we'll shave it back eventually. Prediction on how the Packers finish their final 8 games. What are you most looking forward to or most concerned about? There's nothing that I'm really concerned about, or as far as looking forward to, I think you get some really big games on the schedule, right? So you get Packers 49ers, which I think will be really fun. You get your 2 games against the Bears. Vikings game is going to be huge. Lions game is going to be huge. Dolphins on Thursday Night Football on Thanksgiving. So I think the schedule just in general is something I'm very excited about. And then, I'm not nervous about anything, but I just want to see how they come out and play for the remainder of this year. That's what I really want to see. I want to see how Jordan plays in the second half of the season. Can he kind of have a bounce back and really play much better? And then, just how does the defense take those next steps forward? Can the special teams get better? Like, I just want to see improvement. That's the biggest thing right now. So yeah, I don't have like a 1A thing of like, this is the biggest thing, but I just want to see, can they take steps and can they have that second half of the season like they did last year where they were consistently showing those signs of improvement? I know you take a win in general, but I'll feel better if the Packers absolutely decimate the Bears next week. Might be an interesting game from LVN considering effort from him and Caleb. I guess, you like the extra plays and how he continues to run it down. Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I could see LVN having an impact in that game for sure. I absolutely. I would love to see Green Bay just own Chicago again and dominate that game. They'll be coming out of the bye. They'll be rested. Chicago's season is on the brink right now. They're in a rough spot. I don't think they're a particularly good team at the moment. Their defense is very good. Their offense is not. If you give DJ Moore and that offense a rhythm, DeAndre Swift, etc., they will find it. They will beat you. Green Bay is just by far and away the better team. So I would like to see them take advantage of that matchup, not really have it be close. If it's like a 17-point game and Chicago gets a garbage, time touchdown and it cuts it to 10 or 8 or something like that, I don't really care. But I want to see Green Bay play a full game, 60 minutes of really solid football and just go out and beat them for 60 minutes, quite frankly. If players stay healthy and we stop the penalties, I think honestly we can run the table, but definitely most worried about the Niners, Lions, and maybe Vikings game. Yeah, I'll be pretty surprised if they run the table. I think, 2 or 3 losses though in the second half is a totally workable remainder of the schedule. So what do they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. I'd like to see a 6-2 run. I think would be really good. Beat the Bears twice. Beat the Saints at home, beat the Dolphins at home. And then if you can, out of 49ers, Lions, Seahawks, and Vikings, go 2-2 in those games. That I feel would be a very good result overall. So give me 6-2 the remainder of the year, and I would be very happy with that. Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. He's going to have to stop doing that. We're bear hunting after the bye. I like it. I want to see like a 2-sack game from LVN and a 3-sack game from Gary. Poor Caleb Williams. Listen, he'll give you opportunities, right? He'll keep plays alive, and he will, buy time. Like there will be opportunities for that. So hopefully they can take advantage of it. If we beat the Bears after the bye, I'll get over the Lions loss level. All right, fair enough. Deal. We know Matt LaFleur says every game is critical, but all wins are not the same in the next 8 games. What are your must win? I think 11-6 NFC team might miss the playoffs. To me, it's San Francisco and Minnesota for tiebreakers. Yeah, you got to start winning your NFC games. That's for sure. And they have a lot of them, right? Only one AFC game left against the Dolphins. Like, here's the thing. I don't know that there's a 1A, but I need to see better performances against the 49ers, the Lions, and the Vikings. Like, those are your 3 really tough games left against good teams. I can't have another 28-0 deficit against Minnesota, another 27 or 24-3 game against Detroit, or a game like you play. I know they beat the Texans, right? But where you turn the ball over 3 times and you don't get any from them. So yeah, I think you just need to play better football. That's what I want to see against good teams. I want to see them get a couple of those wins. So still 6-2, I think is a good goal. I'm not super concerned. I would like the 6 ideally to be against the NFC teams. Obviously I don't want a loss against Miami at home, but yeah, I want to see them play better football, and I want to see them play very well against their tough matchups. Matt, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Got to beat Minnesota and the Lions and hope Minnesota loses their next game to the Lions. Yeah. The NFC North is tough. I don't know that there's much opportunity for them to get that 1 seed in the NFC North. I know the odds of that have gone down significantly, but right now just take care of what you can take care of and let the rest kind of settle out from there. Preston, thanks for the super chat. Do you think that if we near the end of our window for a Super Bowl and don't make an attempt to trade for a game changer that could have put us over the edge, it'd be poor management? Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely do. Like, they're going to have to figure out at some point in time, like, when's their best opportunity. And then when you get that, you take advantage of it. And I don't think it's now. Certainly don't think it's now. Maybe it's next year. It's probably not next year, but maybe. But at some point when you figure out that 1A time, yeah, go take your shot at it. I will be far less disappointed if they take their shot at it and they don't get it than if they just kind of let the status quo play out over and over and they never get back to it, right? Or never win it. So yeah, take your shot. It might cost you a little in the long run, but I like Goody's ability to rebuild and restock via the draft and find quality free agents and whatever he needs to do to restock the team. If at some point you need to trade away some future first-round picks or whatever it might be to do that, then do it. And by the way, I don't know that the NFL will ever fully get there, but I bet they do. And what I mean by that is the NBA is far more in on the all-in scenarios. Like, they're all in, and then you build your team, you take a shot at it for a couple of years. It either works out or it doesn't. And then you sell off, and then you kind of rebuild it back up, go all in again, sell it off, and then kind of repeat that cycle if you can. And we're seeing with teams like that are right there, right? Like Denver, they're in a tough spot right now. They've traded, and like Minnesota, they've traded away all their future picks, all their swaps, everything like that. Minnesota, or the Bucks, they have no assets. They've traded all their picks, all their swaps, everything they can do. Basically, they have no exact stockpile of anything. I think you're going to get to teams in the NFL that have done that will legitimately go all in. They'll trade away future first, second, third round picks for the 3 years that they can do it. And we'll see them take more chances like that. And then they'll build it up, give their shot at trying to make a Super Bowl. Once your window's closed, then you'll sell everything off and start the process over again. So I think you'll see a little bit more of that in the NFL. We're starting to see it in the NFL when it comes to salary cap of like maxing out the credit card more. I think you'll start seeing it when it comes to draft picks as well. I think teams are just going to do like when they see the opportunity, they're going to go and grab it. And I don't disagree with that decision, by the way. We've seen it in baseball. We've seen it now in the NBA aggressively. And I think at some point the NFL will get there too and say, hey, when I have that opportunity, I'm not saying it's going to be a Green Bay thing. I think they'll be one of the last adopters to that style, quite frankly. But and for better or worse, we'll see. But I think when you get that opportunity, you do everything you can to take it. And we'll see if teams start going a little bit more in that direction. But my guess is at some point that happens. Scotty B 45. Andy, thoughts on Packers home field advantage at Lambeau? AR12 always said he wanted the cold weather, but seems like in recent bad weather affects the Packers more than teams coming in. Yeah, I talked about this a little bit the other day. I've done a video as well. If you search on YouTube, you can probably find it. Something to the extent of like the Lambeau mystique is dead or home field advantage for Green Bay is dead, something like that. They haven't done a great job with really any of it. And what I mean by that is it's all phases. So I think from a roster building standpoint, I think they've been a little bit more of a finesse team with Aaron Rodgers and with Jordan Love specifically of, hey, we've got this really awesome quarterback. Let's get him a ton of weapons to make sure we're pass protecting, get offensive linemen who can pass protect, and then build the defense for speed a little bit more. I don't think they've ever really been this ass kicking team really since, I don't know, maybe the little bit more of like the Freddie Mitchell game, the FredEx game, the 4th and 26 game where they had that dominant offensive line with Clifton and Wall and Flanagan and Rivera, or no, was it Rivera? Wall and Rivera and Tauscher. It's really been since then in the trenches that they've really had that sort of dominant line. So I think they've been built a little bit more as a finesse team, quite frankly. I think the in-stadium experience doesn't always do the best job of getting fans on their feet and getting excited and pumped up and everything like that. I think Lambeau's become a destination where fans of other teams are making it a situation where they make sure they get to those games. We're seeing, especially when it's close, right? We're seeing a lot of Lions, Vikings, and Bears fans at these games. So I think it's all of it. And I think it's defending your home turf. I think it's players playing better. I think it's fans being louder. I think it's a better in-stadium experience that's needed. I think it's hopefully Packers fans not selling as many of those tickets. It all goes into it. But yeah, I agree that at the moment, not a awesome stadium experience for like this unbelievable home field advantage. And I think it's shown up really over the course of the last couple decades, ever since the Michael Vick game where they lost the game at home in the playoffs. It's really kind of been since then where it just hasn't had the same mystique to it, which is a huge bummer. See more butts. I'd love to see Quay play some edge in the second half of the year. I did bring this up yesterday a little bit. First of all, let me start by saying I'm not a Quay edge truther or believer in any way. I don't watch him get picked up against running backs when he blitzes. He's not getting off of running backs. If he's not getting off of 220-pound running backs, I don't have a ton of faith and excitement that he's getting off of 300-pound offensive linemen. Check him in the run game. When he gets a guard pulling his way, he just gets engulfed. He can't get off that block. So I'm not as much of a believer in the Quay as a defensive end / edge rusher. However, what I did bring up yesterday is the fact that with Preston being gone, you have this situation where you need somebody at the edge rusher position to be able to drop back into coverage. I think Mosby can do it. I think Enigbare can do it a little bit, but the rest of them, not really a ton. It would potentially be a way to get some of those other linebackers on the field a little bit more at the linebacker positions and maybe get Quay out there. And he doesn't even need to be the one that blitzes, right? Like he can be the one that drops back into coverage, but you could bring him every now and again. He does a pretty good job actually on some of those pick plays where he's going out and picking the offensive lineman and then Cooper or somebody else is swinging inside. So I could see him doing that if he's your rusher. So I think there's things that you can do with him. I'm just not a full believer that you can put him out there any sort of full time and just be like, yep, go out and rush the passer. Like, I don't think he's going to succeed at that at all, but I could be wrong. I was not a huge Bullard in the slot guy, and that's worked out pretty well so far. Not perfect, but pretty well. Better than I would have probably expected it to. So, hey, maybe give it a shot, see what happens, and see if maybe it can click. But personally, don't think it's a full-time thing. But could, just like I said with Bullard at the time, could you use it from time to time? Yeah, I think you maybe could. And maybe see if it clicks. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm wrong. All right, let's get back here. Apparently, the Lions will be playing my second team, the Bills, later on in the season. Hopefully, Buffalo can handle that game. That would be nice. I think Philly can officially end Dallas' season this weekend. Dallas' season is done. It's over. You have Prescott that's out. the team wasn't playing. Even if they had Prescott, I don't think that they're coming back. It's done, over. Put a knife in it, put a fork in it, whatever. Final dagger. I'm ending it right now. That the Cowboys aren't coming back this season. When is Green Bay's first snow forecast? I've already had a few days over here now, actually at 5 inches that stuck. I don't know, Ben. I hope it's not for a while, though, as somebody who lives in the Green Bay area. Can take its long ass time as far as I'm concerned. Thank you to whoever gifted the membership last month. Been watching almost every day for a year now, and I'm loving the perks and extra content with the gifts. So I had to go Pro Bowler finally Mede. Thank you a ton for that. And that's a great, thank you for the plug as well. And if you guys haven't checked out the memberships, make sure to do so. And when you usually check it out, you're going to enjoy all the extra content. No Nagler episode this week. We'll get back to our normal schedule this week. I think Ross is still going to be putting out some extra episodes this week, so keep an eye out for that. But next week we'll be back to a normal week, which I'm looking forward to. What do you think is going on with Wicks this year? I mean, last year he didn't make as many mistakes as he has this year, and he is a rookie last year. I guess get on the jugs machine more. Just feels like a confidence thing. I think is all. I don't think it's a talent thing. I know Matt said he can work on his technique a little bit, which I'm sure, like the one drop, he lets it into his body, right? You want to pluck that thing out of the air. Just feels like he's got to get into a rhythm and get that confidence back. When he does, I think he'll take off from there. Phenomenal route runner, doing everything right pre-catch. Just at the catch point, it's been ugly. I do wonder if you start playing Melton a little bit more. I'm a big Bo Melton guy. I think he can handle that. And I think he's, obviously catching the ball better. But it's not just Dontavian either. You know, Reed needs to catch the ball better. Dobbs needs to catch the ball better. So you got to make sure that you're making those plays for your quarterback. We saw the Brooks drop last week. Like, you just got to come up with those catches. So Wicks is a really talented wide receiver. You want to give him every opportunity you can to succeed. But at some point, right, like the catch percentage is brutal. And I mean, absolutely brutal, worse than the league. So you've got to figure out something. And if you want to sit him down for a couple weeks just to say, hey, you kind of got to earn this back, maybe you do it. And I have no problem with Melton getting more playing time in the interim. Andy, I'm excited to see what Mosby has to offer. Sad to see Preston go, but I thought it was time, and you could see the writing on the wall. I agree with every one of those things, and I'm excited to see a little bit of Mosby as well. Dan Gesford, saw you re-upped as the All-Pro member, so thank you first of all for that, and gifted 5-pack-a-day membership. So you are the best, my friend, and hopefully 5 new people get to experience the membership benefits, and we'll stick around after that because, again, most people are really enjoying it once they get signed up. We're closing in on 700 memberships, which is crazy. Thoughts on shorten the wide receiver bench, to borrow some basketball terminology? Should fewer wide receivers be playing more snaps? I know Bukowski talked about this. Maybe, I guess, like, I don't know. I still have a lot of faith in Dontavian Wicks. I have a lot of faith in Watson and Reed and Dobbs. I still would like to see a little bit more Bo Melton. So I think you got to figure out the right formula, the right players in the game at the right time. And like I said, if Wicks isn't catching the ball, maybe you sit him for a little bit till he gets that confidence back. But either way, I think Dobbs, Reed, Watson are probably your core 3, and then figure out how you want to utilize those other 2 in the right opportunities. But I still want to see those guys get on the field because I think they're really talented. Andy, I'm already missing the mustache. Someday, maybe I'll bring it back. I don't see it anytime in the very near future, but maybe at some point. How important do you think the San Francisco game is for the remainder of the season? Kind of feels like a must-win game with the gauntlet we have coming out of the bye. I wouldn't look at it that way, Jacob. I would love to get that win, but you know, if they go 6-2, but one of those loses is to San Fran, heck, if they go 5-3, one of those losses to San Fran, I think they're going to be totally fine. Just take care of business, win your games. You're going to lose a couple here and there. Like I said, I think 6-2 is a very realistic goal for this team. If the 2 losses happen to be to San Fran and Detroit, or San Fran and Minnesota and Detroit, it is what it is. But I think 6-2 should very much be the goal the remainder of the season. What's the plan with Brooks when Lloyd comes back, or is Lloyd even coming back this year? I mean, that would be 4 backs, which all can't play. Yeah, I don't know what the exact rotation is going to be there, to be honest. I think your guess is as good as mine, and I'm very intrigued to see how that plays out. I could see Lloyd being kind of the guy out to begin with, just having to like earn those snaps back. I think one of the things that you really look for is pass pro, and Brooks and Wilson are giving you that pass pro. They both can do it really well. They both can catch the ball out of the backfield, which Lloyd can do as well. But if that's the thing that's lacking for Lloyd and the other 2 have it, then I don't know. I don't see 4 guys being active on game day, but maybe they just rotate it. Maybe one week it's Wilson and Brooks, the next it's Brooks and Lloyd, the next it's Lloyd and Wilson, and maybe they rotate that a little bit. but I don't know. That'll be great competition, and it's a good problem to have. I also, like I said, I've been very excited that at some point they're going to get Lloyd back with fresh legs at the end of this season, which I think could pay huge dividends. I think that could be really, really important for Green Bay. So I think it's, like I said, it's a good problem, and they'll figure it out and they'll find that rotation that works for them. How much money did Brian Gutekunst save getting off of Preston's contract? So it's a complicated answer, RJ. They saved, if you want to be, there's two ways to look at it. Let me pull up my notes really quick here from yesterday. All right. So they saved $2 million this year. They saved $7.6 million next year, $18.2 million in 2026, and $1.7 million in 2027. So what is that? 19, 26, 27, about $29 million they saved. That sounds amazing, right? They saved $29 million by trading Preston Smith. That's a huge number. And that's true. They did absolutely save $29 million by trading Preston Smith, or whatever those numbers add up to. If I did in my head wrong, 25, 26, 27, 28. Yeah, 29. So they saved right around that. The truth is he was going to get released next year anyway. He was going to get cut. They probably were going to do it pre-June 1st, not a post-June 1st cut. And they would have saved the $7.6 million next year, the $18.2 million the year after that, and the $1.7 million the year after that. So the real true savings is the $2 million that's gone from this year's salary cap. So it just depends on how you want to look at it. By getting him off of the remainder of his contract, they did save $29 million. They were going to release him in 2025 anyway. So the $27 million was going to come off at when they released him next year. They saved the $2 million by not paying him the remainder of this year. That's it. It's still important. You still get that $2 million back. It's not insignificant, but again, you just have to be careful with how you look at those numbers. And there was no chance he was going to be on the team with that contract next year. And that likely would have led to a release, especially with them staying in a 4-3 and him not wanting to be in a 4-3. It would have lent itself to either a trade or a release in the offseason next year. So they get ahead of it. They get the 7th round pick in return right now. And it made sense, I think, for everyone involved, especially with him asking for that, asking for the release. Dan, I had to cancel my credit cards and I missed a few monthlies. No worries, Dan. All good. No pressure whatsoever. I appreciate all that you do for the channel. Could use a laugh. Jamin Davis will be a revelation off the edge. Chris Middleton will also be back in the next 3 games. Trust my judgment on this one. All right. I'm with you. Now, the first thing I'll say is I don't think Jamin Davis is going to be a revelation off the edge because, let me double check this. Let me just make sure. I believe they are listing him as a linebacker, and they announced it as a linebacker. So things could change. I don't think edge was ever the right position for him. I don't think it was weird that Washington moved him in the first place. I don't think that was a fit for him, which is why I think it made sense to release him. He probably wanted out and he probably wanted to go back to linebacker. So to me, he is going to be a linebacker in Green Bay. And I think at some point, maybe he could get called up, but they can't even get Hopper on the field right now, right? So I don't think that that's going to be anything imminent. And if it is, even if they do bring him up and add him to the roster, I don't think it's going to be as an edge. I think it'll be as an off-ball linebacker. But I would love to be wrong. And if he's a revelation off the edge, R.R. Smith, you'll be the first one that I give credit to. And Chris Middleton will be back in 3 games. I'll take your word for it, but I'm definitely in the I'll believe it when I see it category when it comes to Chris Middleton. And even if he's back in 3 games, is it a 12-minute and then he's out for another couple weeks, or like I'll believe it when I see it is where I'll leave that one. All right, where do we leave off here? I agree Tom could move inside to center, but I just feel like he's your right tackle moving forward. I totally agree, Ben. No question about it. He's going to be the right tackle. I'm just saying you have options, right? That's all I mean by it. Feels to me like the offensive miscues are due to pressing. Like they think their margin for error is much smaller than it actually is. Do you think accountability or relax is the best path? I think there needs to be accountability when it comes to penalties. I do think the game needs to start slowing down for some of these guys and just go out and play your brand of football. I think pressing is what you're looking for. Like you said, you did say pressing. And I think they are doing that to some extent, maybe trying to do a little bit too much. So just calm that a little bit. But I do think accountability when it comes to penalties. It feels to me like the offense. Oh, look at that, Randy. I just read it. We were in lockstep there right on the same time. So thank you for the super chat. Sorry I didn't get to your other one a little bit sooner. Prince Capsian I think I look at it as Prince Caspian. Isn't that like a Lion Witch in the Wardrobe thing? Goody and Lloyd would be back soon, and they have a roster spot open. Keeping 4 running backs doesn't seem likely. I think they keep all 4. I just think they like all 4 enough. So I think they absolutely keep 4 running backs on the roster, assuming they're all healthy. Big Daddy Gator 12, you are more than welcome. Not too concerned about playing Miami. They're a different team in the cold. Well, they just haven't been as good either, right? But if they can pick up a couple wins over the next couple weeks, who does Miami have coming up? Like, they'll be in desperation mode if they can pick up a couple wins. Miami has at Rams this week, then the Raiders, then the Patriots. So if the Dolphins pick up this win against the Rams, looks like that's on Monday Night Football, then all of a sudden they get to 3-6. They can easily beat the Raiders to get to 4-6 and the Patriots to get to 5-6. And both those Raiders and Patriots games are at home. So you could be looking at a 3-game win streak if they can beat the Rams. That would get them to 5-6 and very much in puncher's chance of playoff competition in the AFC. And then they'll be on a roll and they'll be hungry against Green Bay. So hopefully they maybe have a setback against the Rams, or maybe they lose to the Raiders or Patriots and their season just is basically done by the time they get to Green Bay. But either way, you still got to play it the right way. That 5-day stretch with San Francisco and Miami, both home games look huge. I would hope for cold, I'm assuming you just mean cold weather that week. Yeah, that would be very, very nice. But again, Green Bay's got to play better in the conditions as well, which we have not seen. So hopefully that's something that they can do a much better job of. I think what broke my heart the most about Love's pick was it handed Kirby Joseph the tie to most picks with X. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it's fair. Sad to see Preston go, but now we get to see if LVN and Kingsley can take the next step. I'm really curious to see if Halfley can unleash the dog in Jamin. Again, don't get too much hopes up on Jamin, especially at the edge position, but he's a fun player. And if he gets called up, we'll see what he can do. But my guess is special teams and off-ball linebacker would be his avenue to the roster first. Oh, Ralph, I missed this earlier. Oh, sorry. I missed a couple of yours, Ralph. My apologies. Weird. They weren't showing up. All right. So sorry about that, Ralph. We'll get to both of these right now. I can't believe how bad Van Ness is at pass rush. It has definitely been an issue. Just to give you the numbers, we'll bring it up from PFF standpoint. They have him with 6 total pressures on 141 pass rush snaps. So not snaps, 141 pass rush snaps. So 6 divided by 141, 4.25%, 4.3%. We'll round it up for him. So 4 snaps every 100 attempts, he's getting to every 100 pass rush attempts, he's getting to the quarterback. So really, really rough. It's been really tough to see. We have to be better at drafting first rounders. I would agree, Ralph. I don't know if I'll do a pack a day episode. I definitely am going to talk about it on the radio coming up about that, but maybe we'll do an episode on it here as well at some point. Does Rodgers still own the Bears, or can Love take the mantle of ownership? Last year, Love took the mantle of it, won both games. So hopefully it can continue, and Green Bay can pick up a couple of huge wins in the second half of the season against Chicago. Correct. More of an inside linebacker. They used him at outside linebacker. They used him at edge rusher in Washington this year. Did not go well. It's part of the reason why he ended up released. Prince has got it all figured out. I've come up with a term called Cheddar Bob. Every time we shoot ourselves in the foot during the game, Cheddar Bob. I don't know why, but I go for it. Be my guest. Unless you're the Saints who continuously double and triple down. Yeah, no, they're in a nightmare situation. Just an absolute nightmare. They're going to be really, really bad for a very long time. Scotty B. Seems like rookies have been more impactful the last 2 seasons. Reed, Wicks, Kraft, Williams, Bullard, Cooper. Has anything changed in the Packers scouting process, or just a young team? I don't think anything's changed for them. I think, sometimes you go through those streaks where you get some really good draft picks, and I think they've done so the last couple of seasons. So no, it's worked out well. They've done a really nice job of drafting. They deserve a lot of credit for them. And it's definitely a reason why this team is very, very competitive right now, is what they've been able to do, especially on day 2 and 3 of the draft over the course of the last couple of seasons. Do you think we still release Preston if he didn't ask for a trade, or was he going to be the one to go regardless out of all the position players in that spot? I think he probably, I don't know. I think he probably maybe sticks around if he doesn't ask for the trade. Like maybe they don't take the 7th rounder for him and just keep him for the remainder of this year. he was going to be gone next year no matter what. So it doesn't really make a difference. And again, you trade him away, you get him to a place that he wants, you pick up a 7th round pick, some salary cap savings. And I think it's totally fine either way. But if he didn't ask for it, maybe he sticks around for the rest of this year. But either way, I think it ends up better for both sides. Yep, there we go. Wouldn't Quay be a little undersized for it, generally speaking, anyway? Theoretically, yes. He's a great athlete, but he would be a little bit undersized for the edge. I think if you've tried to keep your team ultra young when it comes to the cold, the better part of your team might themselves have not built up those calluses that give the advantage. Maybe, sometimes youth though is a nice thing to have in some of those cold weather games, not quite as crickety and, banged up, but who knows? Either way, they need to find a way to play better. When was the last time Ja played a whole season? It seems he gets hurt way too much. Let's see here. See if we can pull this up. All right, so we don't have starts. All right, let me see this. Jaire Alexander, Pro Football Reference. No, I don't want that. Give me 1 second. All right. All right. So here's how many games he played in each season. This year he's at 6 so far out of 9, so he's missed 3 games. Last year he was at 7 out of 17, so he missed 10. I'm assuming, this is just regular season. 2022, he played 16 games out of 17, so he missed 1. The year before that, he missed almost the entire season. He only played in 4 games in 2021. Then before that, he was pretty consistent, 15, 16, and 13 games that he played in his first 3 seasons. But over the last 4 years, you're looking at right now 13, 29, 33 games in the last 4 years, including this one. Now, this hasn't been a full season so far, but 33 games, 4 seasons, you're looking at 8 games a year so far. Now, he can obviously improve upon that by playing some more this year, but still has not been consistent for him when it comes to playing time. If Smith has this much decline because of scheme, maybe the same for Gary and Clark, and it might be heavy D-line draft. Could be. Very well could be. Did you see Preston in an interview actually said he requested a trade a few weeks ago from the Packers? I did. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning. RTX Nikki D. Dan trying to one-up most state of Minnesotan over here. There you go, guys. I love it, Dan. Thank you so much. Wade, what do you want to talk about with the secondary? Hit me up with a question. We'll try to get to it. Basically got Malik for Preston in a way, trading a 7th and getting a 7th back. Not too bad in my opinion. I framed it that way as well for the people that were struggling with it is, hey, if you really didn't like it, just pretend that they traded Preston for a 7th and then use that 7th to go get Malik Willis, because kind of evens out that way. See more upside in Wicks than Wicks has a ton of upside. I mean, ridiculous upside. So does Watson, but you get to that 3rd year and now you're saying all right, this probably is a little bit more who he is, but Wicks has crazy upside. He just has to put it together and play more consistently. Kind of say the same thing for Watson as well. Myers is injured. Yes, he's got the wrist injury. Not exactly sure what the status is going to be coming off after the bye, but hopefully we get good news and he's able to go for Chicago coming off of it. Well, yeah, of course the goal is 8-0, anonymous human. I get that, but I'm just saying 8-0 should be the goal. You're right. I will correct my statement. 8-0 should be the goal, but I think anything 6 or 2 above is by far and away acceptable for the remainder of the season. Fair enough as well. You guys are 100% right. Which one of the Packers staff broke a mirror, crossed black cat, stepped on a crack, and walked under a ladder? We get 49ers with CMC back, Dolphins with Tua back, and Saints firing their head coach. Yeah, I'm sure if we look back, there were probably some advantages in the first half of the season that they got. I don't know of any off the top of my head. The Texans were definitely beat up with their wide receiver being out and both their starting linebackers. I thought there was another one too. Obviously, you have Aiden Hutchinson out for the Lions and Jamison Williams out with a suspension. So you definitely benefited in some ways too. That's just kind of how the league goes, quite frankly. Take on the remainder of the schedule. 8 games left. Couple of easy ones. I think Dolphins at home should be easy enough. Not easy, but you get my point. Saints at home should be easy enough. I think the 2 Bear games, you got to take care of business, although they'll play us tough. And then you've got Lions on the road, 49ers, and Vikings on the road. That'll be really tough. And Seahawks on the road is always tough. So tough schedule, not brutal. I think they can survive it. I think they can go 6-2. That's what I want to see them do. Yes, I'd like to see them go 8-0, but 6-2 is good. Who would be more likely to be able to get through waivers and onto the practice squad, Brooks or Wilson? Probably, I don't know. Probably Brooks, I guess. Brooks cleared through waivers already once, but Green Bay using him the way that they did definitely probably caught some eyes, and his pass protection ability is really good. I just don't see it happening either way. I think they'll try to get, I would try to get Travis Glover through first. I think he gets through. I think Brenton Cox gets through if he wanted to do that. I think there's other players that you can probably get through, to be honest, before I would go in that direction. I know we're all focused on the strength of the remainder of the schedule, but I'm curious to which game you're most excited for: 49ers revenge game, Miami under the lights, or Detroit's rematch. Which one am I most excited for? I'm probably most excited for that Lions rematch. 49ers will be good, but Lions rematch, I think, is probably the one I'm most excited for. Already given up on the NBA season. I understand. If you're a Bucks fan, I very much understand. Do you think the half will use Quay as a blitzing Sam type like Hassan Reddick, Anthony Barr? We see him blitz him from the outside a little bit. We saw a play this past week, but I don't think it's going to be anything significant if it is. But we could see a couple plays like that here and there. Is future LVN 10 pounds heavier and playing 3 technique? I don't think so, Aaron. I think he stays on the outside, but crazier things have happened. I wouldn't completely put it out of the question, but I think it's more likely that he stays on the outside. All right. I meant to do this super chat, so sent it again to make sure you got the bread. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. Any changes you want to see offensively after the bye? I want to see more bubble screens to read. I just want to see more consistency. I want to see more rhythm. I want to see Jordan get the ball out of his hands and in the hands of the playmakers. I want to see more catches, at the catch point, no drops. I want to see less penalties, just that stuff. Just get out of their own damn way. Honestly, that's what I want to see. Just get out of your own damn way. And then the other thing is much better red zone offense, much better red zone offense. They got to have a much better plan come red zone, because that's been a struggle for them. There you go. Ben's on the same page. Disclaimer, why I'm reasonably curious about Jamin Davis. Chris Middleton is absolutely not coming back in 3 games. Fair enough. In my opinion, the Lions are far from a juggernaut. Get to the playoffs and stay healthy. Wade, I agree. Just get to the dance and then see what you can do. Caps. I don't even know how to say it. Capsaicin. Now I want to know. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up. But is the juice inside hot peppers, which makes them hot? All right, fair enough. Thoughts on receiving, or by the way, and maybe this is why I have canker sores. You will maybe not guess this. I love spicy food, and not to look at me, I'm amazing, but I do handle spicy food very well. So there's usually not too much from a spicy thing that I can't handle. Now I'm not saying I want to do like the 1 chip challenge or anything like coming up crazy, but I do very much enjoy spice. And usually when everyone else is like sweating and everything, it doesn't really affect me all that much. So definitely love me some spicy food. Thoughts on receiving or deferring if we win the coin toss going forward? Personally, would like to continue receiving. I still believe we can clean it up and start games with 7 on the board regularly. I like, my bigger thing here, Matt, is I don't care. I want to see the defense, if they defer, go out and get a 3 and out or get the ball back without giving up points. The offense gets the ball. You better have a plan in place to go down and get those 7, or at least get points like they did last week, but hopefully 7 points. So I don't really care either way. Whatever it is, execute it. That's what I'm asking for. And I think every game, as Matt likes to say, can be a little bit different. You have a different game plan, a different style, a different intensity going into a game. If they feel like they want to receive and get on the board first, awesome, go do it. If you want to get the defense out there first and give your offense an opportunity at getting the ball in the second half first, awesome. Get off the field and get your offense the ball back. Like, I think you have to have that intentionality in that first drive either way. I do think getting out to a fast lead is massively important. I've talked about this in the past. I used to be a very hardcore online Madden player, and I was in the top 100 in the world, or at least on PS3 at the time, I think it was, when it came to online ranked games, and everyone kicked, and I took the ball every single time because I knew I was going to be able to score on offense on my first drive. It would be like 1 out of 100 games that somebody was able to, because when you go, especially in Madden, right, everyone's unscouted. So nobody knows what my offense is going to be. I don't know what the opponent's offense is going to be. And I knew that what I did on offense, like I had a plan for everything. If I got into a 3rd and 25, I knew how to convert that 3rd and 25 almost every time. Like, I was going to score on that first drive, and you would be shocked. And this is, I know I'm saying Madden here, and I'm not comparing completely apples to apples, but you'd be shocked at how much a play caller's and a coach's mentality or a Madden player's mentality changes when you immediately go down 7-0 and that opposing team scores on you right away. The amount of times that, because immediately what happens, especially in the Madden game, right? You go up 7-0 and subconsciously you're like, if I don't score a touchdown on this drive, I couldn't stop them at all the first time. Now I'm going to give the ball back to them. And now they're going to be up 14-0. They're going to be up 14-0. Even if I kick a field goal, now they're going to be up 14-3 and I'm going to be down 2 scores. Like, you immediately get into a panic mode and you immediately start pressing. It changes the dynamic of the game almost immediately. Now, some of the best in the NFL, of course, will stay even keeled and they're going to run their game plan and do what they want to do. But you'd be shocked at how much the psychological warfare goes into if you can go down and score that touchdown right away. It changes the entirety of the game. So I'm a big believer in that. I do think getting that out to that fast lead is super important. But again, whatever Matt wants to do on a specific drive, I'm cool with it, but you better go out and execute it. Unfortunately, in bad cold weather, the team with great fundamentals has an advantage. Yeah, I think to me, it's more the physical team. The team that plays a more violent brand of football is the one that has the advantage. And a lot of times, sometimes it's Green Bay, sometimes it's not. I think Detroit had the advantage because of their violence and intensity and physicality. And to your point, fundamentals too. I think that gave Detroit a little bit of an advantage in this past game, quite frankly. I'm still not sure CMC comes back the same player. Time will tell. I am interested to see how he comes back as well. Thiago, we still need corners, linebackers, and edge rushers. Sure, no team is perfect, but I don't think this is their year yet. Maybe next year, really hope they fix the issues. If Rashawn Gary plays at the level that we've seen Rashawn Gary play at, and Kenny Clark plays at the level we've seen Kenny Clark play at, and not this year, I'm saying when we've seen them at their best, Devontae Wyatt continues to improve and play even at the level that he has this year. I feel very confident about the defensive front. I love the addition of Edgerrin Cooper. To me, McDuffie and Wilson have been good enough. Quay needs to play better. And I think the secondary is going to be good if they're healthy. I'll put it that way. I still don't think this is a team that's lacking in talent. They're lacking right now in their execution, specifically up front, and especially when it comes to Gary, Clark, Wyatt, LVN, and Igbar. Those guys have to win more. It's it's not this simple, but it's also that simple. It is that simple where those guys have to get to the quarterback more efficiently. And if they don't, you're probably limited into the ceiling that you can reach this season. But I think I've seen those guys win at a much higher level. They better do it in the second half, or again, you're going to be limited as to what you can do. You're just going to need to be too perfect on offense and in the secondary, and that's a really tough thing to ask. Also, y'all can ridicule me if you want, but I enjoyed watching the WNBA last season, or the season this last summer, than the last few NBA seasons. I thought, first of all, the NCAA women's tournament last year was awesome. And Caitlin Clark's definitely added an Angel Reese, and all of them have added in a really fun element to it. And I thought the finals was really, really fun this year as well. So I'm there. I wouldn't say I enjoy it more than the NBA. I'm a huge NBA guy, but it was really, really fun to watch. Andy, love you. You are the best. I'll catch the replay. John, thank you so much for that. Andy, how well do you handle the hottest wings at BW's? I've not had the hottest yet. I have had the second hottest and it was totally fine. So I've never gone and had the hottest, just because first of all, I haven't been to BW3s in probably like 5 years. And the last time I went, I had their second hottest. Just didn't try the hottest. The first, I didn't want to start with that. So the second hottest, totally fine. No issue whatsoever. So next time I'll get the hottest and I'll keep you posted. Maybe I'll do it live. That'd be fun. I already am having canker sore issues and everything. So maybe not the best thing to do on a live, but I'm sure it'd be something, right? I guess it's kind of ripping off hot ones to some extent. So, all right, maybe I won't do that, but yeah, maybe I'll do a members thing where somebody has the opportunity to go get spicy wings with me. How would that go? Seeing the way Jordan played injured against the Lions, do you think Matt LaFleur will be more cautious? No, Jordan will be the starter against the Bears. No question. I'm constantly flexing, Sawyer, never stopping. You can't stop me. It's my channel. I can flex when I want to. Wonder if Packers draft athletic linebacker over instinctive, because if you miss, at least you have an athletic freak to fill. I think it's not just a linebacker thing, armchair Packer. It's always the constant battle in the draft. Do you want to have the really instinctual player that maybe is not going to be able to hold up athletically, and you end up with a team full of poor athletes, and it's going to, at some point that's going to cost you. It's really, really tough if you don't have the athletes all over the field. You kind of need them almost everywhere. Like that athleticism is massive. It's huge. And it's kind of like a deal breaker more often than not. But if you have a bunch of athletes and they're not great players and they're not instinctual, that's going to get you killed too. There's no perfect answer. You have to mix and match, find the right pieces. Hopefully you get a little bit of both and then you make it work. But I've said for a long time, linebacker to me is, instincts are 1A. You got to find instinctual guys. But again, you can't just put out a bunch of slow linebackers out there because you're going to get torched in coverage. There's no perfect answer, but you have to find ways to have guys that are both athletic and instinctual. And if you find those guys, you keep them for a long time. And there's not many of them. There are very, very few. I think there's a difference between doing what you want to do and say going for it on every fourth like MCDC does. Well, you know what I mean? I think there's always, right? There's always a balance. Going for it, 2-point conversions, whatever it might be. You have to do it at the right time for the right reasons. If you just do it all the time, you become predictable. And at some point, it's not going to work out for you. Trust the analytics, but use your gut sometimes and figure out the right moments to do some of those things. But I definitely think you want to lean on the analytics more often than not. Dan Willen is a good answer, but I'm going to go with Xavier McKinney for sure. I have a little bit more grace for White in the last game coming back. I actually didn't think he played that awful, to be honest. I think PFF had a neutral grade on him and I had basically a neutral grade on him as well. So I didn't actually think it was that bad. PFF had a 64.3, 60 is average. And they gave him 2 pressures on the game and only 26 snaps. So yeah, I didn't actually think he was that bad. It wasn't great, but it was mostly fine this past week. If Ja's healthy on the field, I know, question mark. I like our corners with him and Valentine. Valentine needs to play more. Absolutely does. Do you agree when people say Jordan Love is like the rookie Josh Allen? I don't think it's apples to apples, but I think there's a little bit of that. But I think Jordan will rein it in. I really, really do. I don't think this is going to be something that completely plagues him. I think you're going to see more picks from Jordan. Like, my guess is he probably throws 5 more the rest of this year in the last 8 games. I think 5 or 6 picks he'll throw in the final 8 games. Maybe 1 or 2 of them aren't his fault. Handful of them, or maybe a few of them will be. But my guess is somewhere between 4 to 6 picks the remainder of the season. If the season ended today, what's the next move for Green Bay? It's a great question. I'd have to see who's available in free agency. I haven't even begun to look at that yet. I think you start working on a long-term extension for Zach Tom. I think that's definitely in your to-do list. You start figuring out what wide receivers you want to kind of build around long-term. You kind of took care of the Preston Smith thing already, which is nice. And then I think you figure out, I think you're going to have to figure out pass rush, right? If it's ended today and this is where that pass rush ended up, I think you got to figure out a way to get that pass rush a little bit more on track. So that would probably be the big thing I'd be looking for is you got to at least add one more dynamic pass rusher to the mix in some capacity. You always have a great and informative show. Thank you, Andy W. Blake. You are welcome. It'll even be better when I get rid of this stupid canker sore. When will Marshawn Lloyd come back? Any news? It sounds like hopefully soon after the bye, but Goody was asked about it non-committal. And again, until you open up that 21-day window, look for that first, and then probably towards the end of that 21-day window. Are you concerned at all with how Evan bounces back from his injury, hoping he can pick up right where he left off? No, I don't think so. I think he'll be fine. I mean, hamstrings can linger, but he even played through it in that first half in that game, and he looked fine. So hopefully they're being cautious, and he can come back and play and pick up right where he left off against Chicago, and then to the end of that year, or end of this year. Ugh, easy for me to say. Don't think he had a bad game either, just not the impact plays that he had been getting. Totally fair. Thoughts on kicking that missed field goal versus going for it on 4th at that moment in the game? I don't know. Nothing went right in that game. They probably would have gone for it, and the snap would have hit Jordan in the foot and probably would have ended. I don't know. Who knows? Like, I don't have a feel on it either way. I didn't hate them kicking it at the time. Just got to make the kick. And it was just one of those games where nothing went right. Bounce back next week and go beat the Bears and then get the season back on track a little bit. Can you live stream ranked Madden so we can see? No, I suck at it now. I haven't played like a full game of Madden in like 7 years. You get this instead. So at some point, I had to make a choice between hobbies and doing this, and this became my hobby. Now I know it's my full time, but it's also takes up a massive amount of my time. So no, I probably would lose to my 7-year-old right now, to be honest, because it's been that long. I just don't play it anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, I would get absolutely steamrolled by pretty much anyone. And it's a bummer. I love playing it. It was really, really fun. So yeah, it sucks in that regard, but at some point, yeah, I guess I had to grow up and choose to do this. And this was definitely the right move. Thanks, Andy. After you said it, it's my channel. I can flex when I want to. I can't get it's my party. I can cry if I want to out of my head. Yeah, I'm sure you cut it up. Somebody remix it. Is the cornerback room good enough for January football? It is. I think they can win with I think the defensive back room is good enough with Williams and McKinney backing it up. They need to be healthy. Williams needs to be healthy. McKinney needs to be healthy. Bullard probably needs to be healthy. Jaire probably needs to be healthy. And they need to start playing Valentine over Stokes. Nixon will be fine. So yes, it's good enough in my opinion. It really is. But health is, yes. Health is the main thing. Celestial Prophet, I have no idea. I have absolutely zero idea. It's not even close, in my opinion. Absolutely should be Carrington Valentine. Almost had a Mel Kiper moment when the Packers didn't trade for anyone. When you all have is Eric Stokes, give me a break. Hopefully Valentine can take that spot moving forward. Yeah, I'm with you. All right, friends, that does it for all the chats. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate you guys a ton. One more here. Who would you rather have, Nixon or Sam Shields in their prime? In their prime? Sam Shields by like 1 billion. It's not even close. So definitely Sam Shields. I want to see what Mosby can do too. Don't get your hopes up too much, but I'm excited to see him play. And I want to see Brenton Cox maybe get some snaps too. I'm excited to see if that comes to fruition. All right, everyone. Appreciate you all. Have an unbelievable night. Members Q&A tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. Note, happy hour will be 3 p.m. on Friday. That will probably be for the remainder of the season, quite honestly. My youngest has a new soccer practice at 4:30. So I got to get out of here at like 3:45 right at the end of that happy hour. So 3 p.m. happy hours on Friday moving forward. I'll see you guys all very soon. Grades episode should be up tomorrow. Again, members Q&A at 4. I'll see you guys there. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.